Welcome to Rob's Country. It's the second Wednesday of November, so you know that you should have got the first cut of lucerne in. You know you're going to get nor'westers and a southerly during the week, and it's the first day of the Canterbury A&P show. Let's have a look around and see who's doing what, why, and what they've got to share. Seriously, you've got the finger on the pulse. Everything looking good and farming-wise?
Yeah, farming's in very, very good heart. We produce a quality product here in New Zealand. The world's demanding a quality product. Certainly the dairy industry under a bit more pressure, but I don't think it's a long-term downturn. And the sheep and beef prices are just extraordinary. So, no, everybody in very good shape.
Niche marketing is the phrase.
Yeah, it's about us recognising we do have a quality product, and it's about us realising we can't compete on price. We shouldn't attempt to compete on price. We should get out there and sell on quality, backed by Made in New Zealand.
Prime Minister overseas talking to everybody else who's important. That's got to be a good thing too.
Well, it's about trade, isn't it? New Zealand is a country that relies now on international trade. We produce a lot of food. We're not going to eat it all here in New Zealand. So we want trade opportunities to get that product into these markets without tariffs, without those sort of barriers that are placed to protect many of their own inefficient farmers.
Place like the Canterbury A&P show, David, it's important for the city people to actually get an understanding.
Yeah, it's the best show in New Zealand. It's probably the best show in Australasia. It is about the city coming out here, starting to understand some of the challenges, the issues that New Zealand farmers face, and it also is a chance then for better understanding between the rural sector and the urban sector, because we both need each other.
And that is actually vital.
It is, and you know, if you go back 20, 40 years ago, a lot of people then had a connection with the land. They had an uncle that owned a farm, they stayed on farms at Christmas holidays. That's becoming more and more distant. So I think an opportunity like the Canterbury A&P for city people to come and talk to farming, wander around the shows, see the farmyard exhibits, etc., understand a bit more about agriculture, that's in New Zealand's interests.
Because the only thing we ever hear on the main media is negativity.
Well, many of the media sell themselves as being negative. I don't think that's necessarily the case, and I think the last election result, despite the negativity through that campaign, actually gave a very decisive positive result. So people may be influenced by the media, but I don't think they are always.
So, Mark, how's the wool industry? Because Banks Peninsula Wools, and you've been sort of pretty much involved with things happening.
Yeah, no, wool industry is looking good. Probably the big announcement in the last few weeks is the merger of the two scows. That's a great move forward for the industry, and that's starting to show some unification and an area where we add a lot of value to our wool before it leaves the shores of New Zealand. So that's good. Been through the levy vote, that was voted out. And obviously there's a whole lot of reasons for that, but I think we all still support industry leadership, R&D, promotion, those sort of things, but it's just how we do it. And I think a commercial marketing led initiative is the way to go. That's what farmers are looking for. It's what they need on their bottom lines.
How do we set one up, or is there one?
Well, I think Wools in New Zealand, Primary Wools, Merino, they're all part of the equation because they're a marketing sales company out there in the world creating demand and endeavouring to add value around product at all stages through the process. And a good example of that is our lambs wool contract. We just brought that out again. Good uptake to that, and prices in around $6.25 a kilo. So that's good. The rest of the market, yes, there's been a lift. Still some areas of volatility in that as well.
So as far as the future is concerned, I mean, the people have been getting rid of their sheep at 140 miles an hour. Should they be starting to build flocks again?
Well, I think if we talk sheep and beef, things probably looking damn good at the moment. We have seen a lift of about $1 a kilo in wool. Lamb's looking good, beef's looking good. So, if you're a sheep and beef farmer, you should start to get a bit of a smile on your face.
I guess the dollar, we've all lived with it now for long enough that we're going to continue living with it.
Yeah, look, that's part of one of the parts of our exporting business, our primary sector, and the dollar, volatility and pricing, competition, that's all things that we have to live with as farmers. Most important that as farmers we get to understand what happens outside the farm gate.
And as far as the morale is concerned, because there's been a lot of sheep farmers who have been pretty down in the mouth about their wool prices.
Yeah, certainly have been about wool, and a lot of them have taken their eye off the ball on wool. It's still a damn good product. It's still sought after. And the old adage, you know, if we went to 3% of the world's flooring demand, we wouldn't have enough wool. That's what it's about. But our focus as Wools of New Zealand is out there at the high end of the market where we can really add value.
Do you see a swing back to traditional breeds rather than composites?
I think there is anyway. There's been those that have stuck with the Romneys, the Purendales, the Coopworths, and they're seeing the benefit of a dual purpose animal, and that's really, really important.
So really, you're smiling at the moment, Mark.
Oh yeah, I think there's a bit of optimism out there in sheep and beef, and that's good for all of us. About time.
So that's the farming perspective, but what about the retailer, the person who makes woolen garments and sells them?
Yeah, well, we're having a busy day here at the show. The merino wool is really good for travelling. It's thermal fabric, the merino wool. And yeah, we're selling lots today because the weather's very changeable. So it'll go from a hot day to a cold day and change with your body heat. It also doesn't absorb odours and it doesn't absorb moisture, so the perfect garment to travel with.
Yeah, you do a lot of selling to tourists, and they really enjoy the New Zealand wools.
Yeah, well, ours is the best in the world. So, of course, they want our merino wool, and I do a designer garment, so I'm the only one that does what I do. Yeah.
Is merino that sort of strong? I mean, is it a brand that people instantly recognise?
Yeah, well, the New Zealand Merino board are doing the advertising overseas, I think, because they just come here and see it and want it.
That can't be bad for the retailer, manufacturer, designer.
Exactly, yeah, they just come looking for us. They see the merino sign and they just want it. And if you've got something a little bit different, then yeah.
Serious question, do you think that the New Zealanders appreciate what they've got when they look at your garments, which are that fine merino?
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, it's we see it so much around New Zealand, and there's lots of designers using merino wool now. So yeah, lots to choose from, and I think they do appreciate it now. Yeah.
Because there's been a bit of a blockage as far as sheep farmers are concerned. They haven't been getting the prices, and so but it's coming back into vogue. Do you think wool's taking over again from other materials?
Yeah, I think that the advertising's paying off now. I think people are looking for merino. They like it. It's fine. It's light. It's not bulky and heavy like it used to be.
As you said, it doesn't take on odours, and it's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's great. The perfect garment, the merino wool one. Yeah.
Insurance is a subject that a lot of people probably don't want to look at, but they really should, Chris. What's the latest as far as Vero are concerned?
Yeah, I think we're in a period of change right now with insurance. We've had a lot of market change with some acquisitions made by some of the insurance carriers, and we've got some of the change in the broking market as well. But for Vero, we're pretty much full steam ahead right now. We're very committed to the insurance market in New Zealand. We see a lot of opportunity in the insurance market here as well, and we're certainly open for business in the Christchurch area.
Christchurch area is interesting because there's been a lot of flack about claims and time zones and God knows what. Yeah. But have you guys been concentrating on making sure you're okay?
Yeah, we have, and I think the real secret to this is to get engagement. We have a lot of people who are dedicated towards claims handling. We've got people who are actually case handlers, so if you've got a claim with Vero, you have a case handler, you've got a real person that you can speak to. And so we've got people out there who are really solutions focused. They want to get settlements out there as quickly as possible and really help people to move on with their lives.
It's interesting because I walked in here to see you and one of your guys said, how's the rebuild going? Well, I said, very, very slow. And he said, right, I'm onto it.
Right. Yes. Well, if I look at the numbers, and unfortunately there's a lot of statistics that are being thrown around, but Vero right now, we're up to about 78% of all claims settled, and we're moving towards real conclusions on the remaining claims. So we're quite convinced that we'll get to that settlement of all claims sometime around the mid of 2015. We've got about 500 residential claims outstanding right now, but we've got people who are on those. So where we've got a a cooperative council, I guess, where we've got cooperative policyholders. We've got people in behind those who are going to drive those processes to a conclusion. And ultimately, we want to have a happy customer at the end of that process as well. So,
Chris, the same thing goes outside Christchurch, obviously, with people such as fire damage or whatever in the country.
yes, it does. And look, we've got a very wide spread of commercial insurance across New Zealand. So we want to make sure that we're customer focused, and the customer is really at the centre of everything we do. We're driving towards real conclusions on claims, but we also want to make sure that we've got the right products there to meet our customers' needs for the future. And the one thing that I would really emphasise with Vero is that we've gone through this whole process with the Christchurch earthquakes. We've got a lot of key learnings from that process. We're building those key learnings into how we do our business going forward. And the great opportunity that we have is that even if we were hit with another seismic event of the scale of Christchurch, we're in a position where we can actually resolve those problems.
So you've really learnt from it?
Yes, I think we have, and we've learned probably how to engage better. We perhaps had a little bit of a slow start at the very beginning of this process, but we're coming to the finishing line with a lot more speed. And I think we have learned a lot of good ways of being able to engage experts properly. We've learned how to assess damage better, and we're certainly learning how to put the fixes in place quicker as well.
John, you wouldn't think so today with the rain and hail, but we're looking down the barrel of a very dry year.
Yeah, no, it's like, I think the season's late, Rob, and as insurers, we're aware that it's also very dry. You know, hail coming over the show today, but it's only be here for a while, won't it?
So what are people thinking, and what are you doing to help them through?
Well, I suppose from our point of view, for most farmers know the risk of fire, but it's probably as things get dry, it's time to just start to take some decent fire precautions. So from the point of view of tractor fires or headers or balers, you know, before you take the header out that's been in the shed for a year, maybe just check that there's a starling nest under the hood.
And that can take an hour while you go and have lunch for one to be built.
Absolutely, but just take sensible precautions really, and we obviously prefer controlled fires to remain controlled fires, so from the damage from the fire, but also the liability under Forest Rural Fires Act and stuff. So before you light a fire, maybe just check that you're allowed to light a fire, get the consents, and those consents obviously check that you're getting the right precautions in place and the weather's not about to change.
Tell me about the public liability extension that you need to have for fighting fires if one were to break.
Okay. So your liability policy has a general liability section which covers you for damage arising from the fire. So if you burn the neighbour's wheat paddock, obviously, and if you're responsible, then your liability insurance will pick that up. But as well as that, there's the cost of putting out the fire. So your liability policy should have a cover for forest and rural fires. So that's for the cost for the rural fire service to come and put out fires, whether it's 2 tenders or helicopters or a whole gang of people out there. That's what that insurance is for. So as we go into a dry season, it's probably worth checking that you've got some decent forest rural fires that you cover.
And that's not expensive?
No, it's relatively inexpensive. The first 250,000 is the most expensive, but if you buy, you know, if there's a major fire, your cost could easily be over $500,000, and some of the worst forest and rural fire claims have been up around $3 million. So it's not untoward to have $1 million sum insured on that.
Tell me about doing renewals and going over your insurance with your broker.
Well, I think probably you should be looking at your insurance covers on an annual basis. We found after the recent storms, several farmers found out at that stage that their review of their insurance was overdue. The areas of underinsurance we observe are irrigators, so you installed an irrigator 5 years ago, but the cost of the irrigator's gone up significantly since then. Machinery and plant, you know, the sum insured that you set 6 years ago or 10 years ago is not going to be adequate for all your gear in your shed. So it's just really a matter of looking through your list with your broker and working out what the current value of that stuff is.
And the difference between 10 years ago valuations and now probably isn't that much anyway.
Oh no, in some of this componentry the cost has gone up, so your machinery and plant. Irrigators, you know, the cost could be up 30-40%.
No, I was meaning as far as premiums are concerned.
Oh no, it's the top end of the insurance cover is not the expensive bit. So, you know, if you have a sum insured of 50,000 and you increase it to 60, the additional premium cost is not significant.
new products? Because you guys are always developing new products for the farmers.
Yeah, we've got an enhanced livestock bloodstock product which we have out in the market. Our crop insurance product, we're flat out in the middle writing crop insurance for the season. There's nothing like a hailstorm like today, Rob, to encourage farmers to ring up and arrange their crop insurance. So there'll be a lot of calls into the office today. We're enhancing our covers for farm insurers by extended perils and the liability covers that we've just discussed.
So basically check in with your broker very regularly.
Yeah, ring your insurance broker, check that your insurances are current, check your sums insureds, your machinery, plant, irrigators, home contents, house insurance. Just go through, review all your covers.
If you black bull, your Angus bull means you're interested in the country.
We absolutely are. So we're probably the biggest writer of livestock bloodstock insurance in New Zealand, and we're real pleased that our mascot is a Angus bull.
Lincoln University, John, you've just come back from China.
Yeah, look, a fantastic 10, 12 days there working with the university. We've got links up into Lanzhou, so the town that Remy Ali was associated with, and working with animal production scientists there, Ganzhou Agricultural University at school. We've worked with them for 10 years. Great people and great trip. Had a lot of fun there.
So what's it like up there? Because nobody would know.
Yeah, it's a funny place. It's a lot of clay country, so it's dry. This time of year is very, very dry. But you drive north from Lanzhou on the Silk Road, and you come out onto the Tibetan plateaus, and it's sort of like the Mackenzie country on steroids. So you've got that infinite horizon type effect, and in the far distance is the Himalaya and other ranges of mountains, and it's just endless sky type effect. Fantastic thing. And of course, it's Tibet, so for those of us with fair skin, you don't get into Tibet unless the Chinese government's invited you in, and all kinds of fancy permits and political sign-offs needed. So an absolute privilege to go to a place where we don't typically get to go.
Their standard of farming?
Yes, they need a lot of work, a lot of help, and this is why we're working with them. I mean, they eat sheep meat, they like sheep, they farm sheep, but their production systems are not good, need a lot of work. The lambing performance is bad, the nutritional feeding systems. It starts at the ground up, so they can work their soil. It's there, the base, but soil to pasture, to livestock, and they'll get good sheep. At the same time as I think they'll carry on buying ours too. I mean, this is the advantage of working with them, is that they are a ready-made market for what we produce so well. So a lot of positives in that respect. Yeah.
So we're basically selling them systems and education, as it were.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I counted the other day, we've had at least 10 of their staff and students come to work with us. They're not taking home trade secrets. We're taking home a collaborative relationship where they can take some of the things that really are old world to us in many ways and start to implement their fight the battle of small farms, and the fact that you're talking to a huge audience who possibly are particularly well educated, all those sorts of challenges that never seem to change. But you've got to have people that can speak the local lingo and know what the limitations are in the system if you want to take what we do so well and start to get that sort of system operating on the ground there. And even then, the performance will never really reach what we can achieve because they're not a temperate climate. They're a continental, hot summer, bitterly cold winter type climate, so they've got those challenges too.
So as far as New Zealand is concerned, though, we can teach them a hell of a lot, and we can make some sales over there.
Look, I think that's the thing. I mean, they're on the verge of wanting to import genetics into New Zealand, and I think the day will come where, like the dairy industry, where we've sort of got that going, out in the east and around Beijing and down through Shanghai. I think we'll see their sheep country up to the northwest really grow on the back of New Zealand crossbred sheep genetics and our production systems there. So, but it'll take us, as I said, to start at the soil first and work up through the pasture to get what we need to be able to feed those high-performing sheep. But it will happen, I'm always, it's a 15 to 20-year project, and we might get some runs on the board at the end if we're lucky. It's not going to happen fast.
John, what about yourself and your own research, foot rot, brown flat, and all those sorts of things?
Yeah, still busy here. We're sitting on wool genes at the moment. We've got some interesting-looking things there, trying to predict ways of predicting fibre diameter reduction and increased curvature in wool. So working on that at the moment, and you're taking some of those other genes that we've looked rotating sheep out into cattle now. I think that whole same gene that seems to control fat deposition within muscle and beef cattle also seems to affect milk yield. So you can sort of see where we might be going with that big industry out there on the land too. But I'm not selling the soul to the dairy industry at the expense of sheep either. It's just when you get a gene that you think's important, you tend to pursue it. So yeah, good stuff going on, and as busy as ever in that respect.
You're never going to get bored or take up golf, are you, John?
I couldn't get bored to take up golf. We've got too many damn students coming to Lincoln at the moment too. I mean, I'll be swamped by teaching. Big enrolment increases occurring. This is good. Industry needs that, and I'm very positive about that. We're starting to see the gaps that are opening up in the industry. We're starting to get young people coming through that will fill them ultimately. So things were looking a bit dire for a while, but numbers are picking up well. So it's good.
Moving into the sheep section, and the Corriedale breeders, Diane, have got a new class here.
Yes, we do, Rob. It's a Ram Hogget feature class, modelled on our previous ewe Hogget feature class, which has been going something like 20 years. And for some years we've discussed having a Ram Hogget feature class, and today we have the sheep here at the show.
Always took a wee while to catch on, didn't it?
It did take a little while to catch on. The difference is, compared to the other classes, is that the sheep are all put onto one farm in January of 2014 as lambs, and they're all raised under the same conditions. So the owners can't go there and feed them as they may wish to.
So what are the judges looking for?
Well, the sheep have been scanned for their meat production abilities prior to today. They've also had their wool tested for value and for quality, and now today they're being judged on their conformation and correctness.
So then all those points are collected and calibrated, and
points are collected, and I'm about to calibrate the final figures from these judges here today, and then the winners will be announced.
Running my eye over them, they're a pretty even looking run.
I think they are too. I've been looking at them this morning, my first look, and I think the owners should be suitably pleased that the sheep have come out looking like this, and they didn't have a hand in how they grew them out.
They didn't have to feed them.
They didn't have to feed them, no, they didn't. And it's a big thing to leave your hand, especially rams, to leave them in the hands of somebody else. But I think the person that's grazed them's done a wonderful job.
You guys have always been innovative as far as performance and things are concerned.
Well, we try to be. We try to encourage people to be performance recording with their sheep, and that's what these sheep are today.
And so this is going to become a prestigious event, I would imagine. This is the first year.
It is the first year, and after this year we hope to have a new sponsor on board to add to the class, to the value of it as well.
Dual breeds, the move away from composites back to the basic breeds, working quite well for the basic breeds.
I would hope so. There's been challenges, a lot of challenges along the way, but I think always you need to go back to some purity, put some stability back into them. And the composite breeds are there, and they'll always be there. We live with that, but I think our breed has its place in the market.
Talking to Mark Shadbold earlier in the day, Diane, and he was saying that the wool swing is coming back, and so that these breeds, the dual-purpose breeds, becoming more valuable.
I would think so, yes.
Good heart amongst the Corriedale breeders?
Yes, there is, yes. And I had the privilege of judging in Australia earlier in this year, and it's the same there. We're all on the same page.
I know everyone's expecting me to ask, so I will, comparing New Zealand's Corriedales to Australian ones.
I would say not much difference. Sometimes it's been said they have the edge over us with wool production, and they do have beautiful wool, but I think we do here too.
And of course these things will do very, very well in an El Nino, which we've got over the whole of nor'westers and no grass.
I think so, yes, and sometimes we think the trait of the Corriedale will come through in the dry conditions.
Brent Fisher, it's lovely to have the Fisher name at the Canterbury AMP show again. How are things going?
Oh, pretty good, thanks, Rob. Yeah, no, I've had it's always a rush getting here, but it's always good to be here.
Charolais are your life, and they were Bruce's life as well?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very much so. They've been in the, Bruce started them back in 1968, so yeah, coming up a few years now.
Bit of fun and enjoyment and smiles and things in the beef world at the moment.
Yeah, no, the beef thing's looking pretty good at the moment, and probably a result of things have been down for so long, and while things are down, you tend to get more of a cull of cows and cattle and things like that, which actually puts more beef on the market. So, like I think the US beef cow herd's the lowest since 1953, and I think if you consider that the world population has doubled since 1970. And people still like to eat hamburgers and beef and that sort of thing. It's sort of supply and demand thing. So, and it's hard to see that actually turn around for a while.
The good thing about New Zealand, I guess, Brent, is that you cull the lower echelon first, so the higher echelon are left.
Yeah, well, hopefully people have retained their breeding stock and things like that, and it's been one of the things. I think the people that have stayed in the beef have been very dedicated to them, so they've put a fair bit of effort into making sure that they keep them right, and I guess hoping and praying that one day there would be an upturn. Yeah.
Bottom line is, you're here at the AMP show. You guys have been here for years. You stopped for a bit. This is important as far as your selling of bulls is concerned?
I wouldn't say it's important as far as selling the bulls is concerned, but I think it's important that there's a lot of people that come to the show that volunteer and do their bit for the Canterbury cause, I guess. It's a big week for Canterbury, and I think that the fact that it's sort of, I guess, it's your public good type thing. As far as selling more bulls, like years ago, I think it was quite important, but nowadays it's sort of more about sort of being seen out there, and it's always good. We run into people that we do sell bulls to and things like that, and it's just a good place to be.
Terminal sires coming back into their own with the price of beef coming up?
I think so, yeah. Well, I think, like every kilo that you put on, you're getting, pretty well paid for it. And animals that grow fast are going to be more efficient, more sought after. So we have trends and things like that, and I think it's sort of your crossbreeding, things like that is something that is definitely on the way back. Yeah, it's been there's been a big swing to the Angus over the last few years, but like all pendulums, they sort of swing in different directions, and sometimes like with all things, sometimes you think, well, often the pendulum swings further than you think, and that's probably what has happened. But yeah, certainly in recent times, there's certainly a lot more of a swing back to crossbreeding and terminal size.
On a personal note, how's your herd gone at the show?
Pretty good. Yeah, we've had a pretty good trot. We've had 5 heifers by a bull called Evolution, who won the Meat and Wool Cup here about a couple of years ago, and his semen's been sold all around the world, and he's been very, very successful. So we've been very fortunate to have bred such a good bull. He's probably the best bull we've ever bred, and he's breeding so well. So yeah, we're delighted. Yeah.
Well, good luck for the rest of the day.
No, thank you, Rob. Good to see you.
Well, a man who can control everything but the weather doesn't seem to be putting people off.
No, well, I mean, the show's on for 28 hours and 30 minutes in total, and so far we've only actually had about 20 minutes of rain. So I don't think anybody's bothered.
No. You must be very pleased with what's happening. There's a great atmosphere here this year.
Oh, it's a wonderful atmosphere. There's been some real change and some real growth. Equestrian's up 10%. We probably went from 3,100 entries last year to 3,500 this year. Sheep's up. A lot of people might suggest that sheep's on the way down, but not here.
No, I think it's swinging back the other way.
They're swinging back the other way, and let's face it, those guys are down on the Sheep Exhibitors Club there having a good time, enjoying each other's company and showing sheep. And
there's plenty of noise and things for the village green.
Yeah, we've hired Salmonella Dub have come on board for 3 days of goodness with their multi-platinum award-winning albums. They're great. They're just here to have a bit of fun, and so we've got lots of great things. And Jodie Doreen, actually, up-and-coming country and western singer. She's awesome.
The thing that I've noticed moving around is that people like Christchurch City Council are here because they want to cash in on your country and city people. I mean, it's the place to meet everybody now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been having meetings with councillors and all sorts of people, and our chairman's been having all sorts of meetings. These things are... We have to have a close relationship with the council because, they own the land that we have a licence on, and the way that we develop the park and turn it into what we want it in our vision has to be aligned with what they want. So working with them together is pretty important.
And you've got a lot of overseas visitors here. It's just, as I said, it's a great atmosphere and no trouble. It's not like some events this time of year where there's a bit of problems.
No, well, we're here for families, really. You know, we design our everything so that it's family friendly. We design it so people don't drink too much, but they can still have a drink and enjoy each other's company. And try and keep it low key. It's all good.
And you're doing it very successfully. Congratulations. As I said,
Thanks,
you must
Rob.
be very proud.
Well, look, I'm just proud to. I'm the only guy that gets paid. Well, it's all the volunteers, Rob, that make this thing work. And so really, I'm the lucky one. It's those guys that you need to be thanking.
And we just did.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Well, we've just been told that the entries for equine have gone from 3,100 to 3,500. That's a hell of a lot of horses.
It's a huge jump. Last year we were fairly empty. This year there's waiting lists for all of the stables. Everybody's been so lucky to be in here.
And you really need to be inside in weather like this.
Absolutely, and we anticipated that as well. It's with rain coming down like this, you need to be under cover.
So tell me about your horse.
This is Commodore. He's two-time Supreme Champion for Horse of the Year for Hunters, and one-time Canterbury Champion for the Christchurch Royal Show. I think it's Christchurch Royal Show. Yeah, we had a blitzer last year. It was enjoyable.
So how do you prepare a horse and yourself for an event such as this?
We start about a month out. We have 2 shows leading up to it. His coat comes through. We make sure it peaks at about this time. So we're sort of 4 weeks ago, we've clipped all of his hair off. It grows back, and as it grows back, we condition it so it comes through soft and rich. We make sure we put plenty of rich, not dyes, but we sort of enhance it somewhat.
So as you said, a conditioner.
Yeah, a conditioner, definitely. And we make sure he's got all of the right foods for his joints and
so the diet is considered?
Hugely so, huge part of it. Everything's considered. As far as diets goes, we need him to build muscle, but we sort of use a really high protein diet, so he doesn't end up a bit soft. So very low carb, high protein.
And what about fitness for him?
Massive amount of fitness for this horse. Unfortunately, he's not a naturally paddock fit animal.
You're not suggesting he's slightly lazy when he's on his own?
He doesn't stress himself. Not
but
at
that's
all.
part of his nature though, surely.
Yeah, very much so. So we, in order to get him fit and ready for a 3-day competition like this, and he's on he can be on for about 4 to 5 hours a day, we do for about 10 to 15 k's a day of trotting and cantering, all on really soft surfaces like a beach or a synthetic indoor arena base.
And what about yourself?
Myself, how do I prepare for this?
Yes.
I pop my riding jacket on a month out from the show, and I decide exactly how much I need to.
How much you need to lose. That's a hell of a thing for a girl to say.
To be honest, it is, because your riding jacket, as you go through the season, you tend to take them and we shift the buttons and things because you're so fit over summer. Everybody at the end of the summer is looking how they want, but you're definitely beginning of spring after
all those winter roasts. Well, it's comfort food for the winter, isn't it?
Pop it on and it's, yes, no, we definitely, you've got to take it a bit seriously. Probably about 3 weeks ago I thought,
You said that you ride him a lot every day. So how do you fit that in with your daily routine and work and earning a living?
well, what I do is I tend to hop up, come through, it's fine. I tend to hop up fairly early in the morning to condition a horse like this. He's not a natural athlete, as you put it. We do schooling in the morning, and which is sort of like maths at high school, and then we do athletics in the afternoon, which is a cardio version because you sort of can't do 2 at once. And in the evenings, about after 6 o'clock, when it's quite a bit cooler, it doesn't go well in the heat. We do a big road ride, about sort of 10 to 12 k's, just quietly, but we need the cardio.
And does he know he's at a show and perform better?
He shows off to a crowd. At home, when we're doing our schooling or rehearsing, for want of a better word, for what we're doing out here, he's fairly flat, and he obliges me, but he doesn't sort of talk it up much.
Yeah.
But
Indulges you almost.
He does. But as soon as we're out here and he thinks people are looking, completely different story.
Oh, well, I wish you all the very, very best for you and he.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Well, it might be 4 or so years on, but Joe, we've still got people who are needing help regarding earthquake and accommodation.
We absolutely have. So the the Canterbury Earthquake Temporary Accommodation Service is there to support those people. We've got 3 service lines that we deliver. One is assisting people to find that temporary accommodation due to, if they're needing it for repair, rebuild. We've also got temporary accommodation assistance, which assists with funding. So if they have costs over and above due to that temporary accommodation, we can assist them there. That's not income and asset tested, so that's a really good support. The third service line is CTAS, Canterbury Earthquake Accommodation Assistance. Actually also supports people with earthquake coordinators. So we assist householders to navigate their way through the myriad of services that they need to.
Because it is a minefield, Joe.
Absolutely. There's a lot of different organisations that people need to work with, and when it's their first time through something like this, they're not going to know it all, and they are going to need the support that CTAS can give, and also earthquake coordination.
You're still busy because it's 4 years down the track?
Absolutely. So we'll remain busy while there's still people with unresolved claims and still, with cash settlements and working through rebuilds and repairs. Absolutely, we've got demand for our services.
So you're the fence at the top of the cliff, not the ambulance at the bottom.
We'd like to think so.
Obviously, people do need to get hold of you. You've got an 0800 number.
Yes, so there's 2 0800 numbers. We have one for the Canterbury Earthquake Temporary Accommodation Service, but they can also access us through the Canterbury Support Line. Now, the Canterbury Support Line is an 0800 number where they can tap into a number of support organisations, not just earthquake organisations, but if somebody has a need for a service and unsure where to go, the Canterbury Support 0800 number is the one to use.
And as far as the Googling, because people may not remember an 0800 number,
absolutely.
We can Google you?
Absolutely. We've got a website, so if they just Googled Canterbury accommodation, then they'll come up with the CTAS services.
So how many people have you helped? Have you got any idea so far?
Gosh, I know within the Earthquake Coordination Service we're around about 9,000 households that we've actually assisted, so that's the navigation service. Temporary accommodation assistance, probably about 2,000. Matching and placement, I think, a similar number as well.
And you're obviously expecting a lot of people to come in and to say g'day to you and probably thank you for everything you've done already to them.
We've been at the show, we've already had a couple of people come past and say that their mother or their sister or themselves have used the service and really appreciated what we've been able to support them with. A chap this morning talked about using the villages, the temporary accommodation villages that we have, and really appreciated that support.
Well, I think the whole of Canterbury in particular, New Zealand in general, are right behind you.
Thanks, Rob.
So Dan Cosgrove, based in Timaru, you're legends. You've been around for a hell of a long time. What is that?
This particular item here is a heat exchanger for drying grain. So it's got a wee diesel burner unit on the back that heats up the internals. You have a big fan on it that blows the air through into the silo through our little unit over the back there, which is called a grain conditioner, and it pushes the air up through into the grain and dries the grain, or you can use it also for just cooling down the grain as well after running hot air through it.
So if it's heating or it's wet and a bit unfit, you can still...
Yes, so it's for drying it and bring the moisture levels down on it.
It's pretty clever sort of stuff.
Yeah, Dan Cosgrove's been making grain-specific gear for many, many years, so New Zealand, the only New Zealand manufacturer of silos of this style and these bits and pieces. So.
You start your silos, I see you've got those safety rails for the Yosh business.
Yeah, so it's critical these days that people comply with health and safety. So, and we've got a special on at the show here for safety cages for our silos. So they just clip onto the ladders that go up the side. So very easy to fit. We can fit them if the customer requires, or else they can buy a wee kit set and fit them themselves. So we get 30% off the cages here for the show.
And if they actually come into you and say, "You were at the show with those," you'll probably be still buckled, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, she's a show special, so yeah, they're going to come along and see us here if they can.
Okay.
But they will be available ongoing, yes.
Now tell me about this little one, because it's a cute little thing, but it's not actually a silo.
Okay, this is actually what we've called D-Shed, so it's a Dan Cosgrove's silo shed. So we've just developed it out of all the parts that we make from a silo. So yeah, it's a nice heavy-duty wee unit, fantastic for out on the farm or in the big garden. You could store anything in it, chemicals if you wanted to, or use it for your garden shed. It's got shelves, skylight inside, a bench in there, so and this hooks here to put all your tools on. So yeah, we've got a show special on for those as well, so that's something quite unique that it's a bit different to the other sheds that are on the market currently.
Of course, the thing is that it could be written off by the accountant as a silo rather than a garden shed.
Yeah, look, we won't enter into the accounting side of things, but the customer can do what they like, so yeah, sure.
Very, very important when it comes to your line of stuff, it's drying, conditioning and storing, because we're still the grain basket, aren't we?
We are, yeah. No, New Zealand's a big producer of grain, so and the commodity's getting worth a lot of money, so you've got to look after it, and the last thing you want is your grain going off after some time sitting in your silos, so yeah, you've got to make sure that you keep it in good condition.
Well, you put a lot of inputs into it, so you don't want to lose it.
No, that's right. That's the money in the bank sitting in the silos. So yeah, no, it's got to be looked after 100%, and that's what we're about. You know, supplying a customer quality products that look after their products.
First port of call is to the diabetes stand, and Lynn, you've got some very special drinks that are ideal for people that don't need sugar.
That's right. These are what we call slushy, low-calorie drinks. They're high in GI, but only 5% sugar, so they're ideal for anyone wanting low fat, low sugar, and ideal for diabetics.
And prevention is half the cure, isn't it?
It is indeed for type 2. Type 1 you can't cure, unfortunately, and you have to have insulin all the time, but type 2 is manageable with diet and exercise and medication.
Then tell me about the roses, because they're a very, very special rose.
These are a very special rose in honour of Sir Don Bevan. Sir Don Bevan was our patron, and he was the first person to start societies in New Zealand in 1956. So unfortunately it's 5 years since the Prof died, and we've got a wee tribute yellow rose, and Prof always wore a rose in his lapel or shirt every day when he went out talking to people about diabetes, and
he was a very, very big loss, wasn't he?
Huge loss. He mentored so much research and education about diabetes. He was a real guru, and he just had such an empathy and understanding for people with diabetes.
And tell me a wee bit about your sales table, because you've got lots of goodies there and it's all supporting a very good cause.
Most of our sales table is about information. We have recipes, and we also have our little seeds, because there is a real drought on bees in Canterbury, and these are what makes honey, and also for agriculture. We can't have any agriculture or forestry. The trees won't grow without bees. So we have a range of little seeds that we just need the bees to make the seeds grow. So we have one in honour of Prof, and these are forget-me-nots. We have sweet peas, and we also have a range of pins, bracelets for identification, and of course our very popular Barnaby Bee soft toy.
And you've got a cookbook there?
We have a cookbook. This is our Be Healthy cookbook. In the Roman times, you discovered that people had diabetes because the bees hovered around the sweet-smelling breath. So that's why we have the bee as our mascot.
I had no idea about that. So that's
That's right. They found cesspits with the people that had died from diabetes, because the only cure with no medication back then was starvation. So the bees and the ants hovered around the sweet breath and the sweet-smelling neuron.
Well, thank you very much indeed for my history lesson, and good luck with all the things on your stand.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Men are notoriously bad at looking after themselves, but you're doing some very good man health type things here.
Yes, indeed. We've taken these opportunities to come to things like the AMP shows to catch these blokes who won't go and see their doctor, and just take the opportunity to have a chat about how's your blood pressure going, so we can offer a free blood pressure check. We've got Steve August here with the back pod looking at upper back pain and neck pain, particularly for lifting and bending over, all that sort of thing. And we're just talking also about the recently reclassified sildenafil, which people will know as the trade name of Viagra. It's now available over the counter, but the whole heart of that is around health, men's health. What are the causes behind that? So although you can purchase it over the counter, we still have to have that health conversation. So we hope that'll be a good talking point this weekend.
I guess there'll be a lot of wise frog marching their husbands into your tent.
Well, I've known that occurs, so well, there's many questions on behalf of a friend.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, of course, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I mean, how bad are males at being checked over? Because we do fall over and when it's too late.
Well, too many men are dying too early, and that's the point. We've got people in their 50s and early 50s to early 60s who are having heart attacks. Many of that's preventable, and men generally present late. So for things like bowel cancer, we've got the bowel screening kits here as well. Bowel cancer and melanoma are the two most preventable diseases if we can get onto them early. If you don't present early, the fatality rate's too high, and too many men in New Zealand die from those two diseases every year.
Farmers, Bernie, are obviously out in the sun a lot.
They are indeed, and of course the older farmer who has said, look, I never wore a hat, I didn't do it that way, they are now showing up with many of these skin lesions. We've seen people with melanomas walking past. They tend not to come in, and they don't tend to do anything about it, and unfortunately melanoma is one of those diseases, if caught early, the success rate is quite high, but if it's not caught early, the fatality rates are just astounding.
You don't have any rubber latex gloves for the boys to worry about?
No, nothing like that. It's just a nice friendly chat.
Because there's a phobia about a latex glove as far as men are concerned.
Well, I think there's a phobia for anything below the belt. It's just don't go there. Men just don't talk about it. I think what we're trying to do is raise that awareness, and I know from my own experience is that my dad and his uncles never talked about those things. We're trying to have those conversations, and I'm seeing now that in our sons, and I've got my boy here this weekend, the younger lads are starting to talk about this a bit more in a normal way and bring these problems out early, which is great. And even talking about their feelings and depression, all those sorts of things, youth suicide. It's great to see men sort of now stepping up and having a look at it.
Perhaps the back pod could get them in here, Bernie, and you can grab them for the rest of it.
Well, Steve's great. It's great to have the inventor of the back pod here, and he's picking people out as they walk and talking to them. He's a trained physiotherapist with 30 years of experience all around back pain, and look, his product's amazing, so it's great to have him here.
All power to your elbow, Bernie. Thank you
very much.
So once again, that's just some of the people who are here to have a yarn to at the Canterbury A&P show. I'll be back with a more traditional program next week. I'm Rob Cope-Williams. You've either been watching our special coverage or you've just missed it. But don't worry, as I said, I will be back at the same time next week. Until then, bye now.